Hello and welcome to ReSync, an Assassin's Creed podcast. It's me, Landon. Lucas, it's you.
That's me.
We're back. Apologies for the 2 week delay.
Yeah,
Shit's happened.
a lot of shit happened.
Yeah, like I said, last week, Lucas's grandfather
my
passed
grandpa
away. And so, going through some shit as one should and would. The week before, like I said, I had that wedding. The more I thought about it, I was trying to think of a feasible way to keep it together, but then it was an extremely busy week for me that week between like getting that all ready and then like being in town because it was like a bunch of friends I had from Indianapolis, so people I don't see that often anyway. So there was no feasible way I was going to be able to get the podcast done the week before either. So definitely glad I didn't try to shoehorn it in there because it would have been a mess. But so yeah, we got our break in, but we've come back refreshed. I was super excited to play this week, like having some time.
I was kind of itching.
Like the fact it's only been would it have been 2 or 3 weeks since the I think it would have been 3 weeks since the last time we played total. But like I was forgetting shit. I think a lot of it was because
I read my notes before I played this sequence because I was like kind of.
Well, no, I was talking about like gameplay.
Oh,
I think it's mostly just because of how much Shadows that I've played. Because now it's like ingrained. Like I was like accidentally clicking like left to sprint, like just different control schemes, and I was also like. Because in Shadows you can like press and hold the like parkour down button to like scale down. I kept doing that, and Ezio would just sit there on the ledge, and I'm like, "Why aren't you going down?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is a 15-year-old game. That doesn't work like that."
I feel like because of my like weird octopus grip thing I do, I have to like I just automatically switches my brain to like Assassin's Creed mode. So it's just like.
Well, technically, they're both Assassin's Creed mode.
Well, but that's better Assassin's Creed mode. The other one's like God of War fighting, so I would be using probably that.
Yeah, but yeah, I had a little bit of had to rewire my brain a little because I did finally roll credits on Assassin's Creed Shadows a few days ago.
I have it installed.
Yeah, so for our apprentice tier subscribers over on Patreon, make sure to tune in next week for our full review of Assassin's Creed Shadows, hosted by me and probably only me.
I'll have some input.
We'll see.
I will play it.
We'll see. But yeah, I still agree. I'm not going to go too much into it because I don't really have anything extra to add. But I'm still holding my 7 out of 10. There's some things I really like about it, and then there's some things that really annoy me. I think the moment-to-moment gameplay is really strong. Some of the best the series has ever seen, honestly. It's stuff I really like. Like, I love the combat. I love, like, some of the stealth elements. I like the progression of the skill tree and everything like that and the accessibility there. But the numbers aspect of it, the enemy progression, the leveling, the scaling of all the numbers, the narrative design, it's just so disjointed and it makes me upset. There's like, and those are aspects that I really enjoy, because like the story itself isn't necessarily bad. It's just the fact that there can be no development because it's supposed to be approached in an open order, which means there can be no order. And so it all kind of falls apart. You can't have like they have these little sporadic moments and it doesn't feel connected whatsoever because it can't be because of the design. And so it's just frustrating. But overall, I still had a good time with it. Like I said, it's still like a 7 out of 10 for me. But we'll get into the nitty-gritty next week. But how you feeling now? This is our first DLC sequence, not originally in the game.
I actually really liked this sequence. I liked how it just kind of like throws you into the action right away. You don't really have a choice. It's like you can't even decline the mission. You're just like, whoa.
Well, it does give you a point like halfway through.
Well, yeah, it does.
Give you a break. But yeah,
like,
it definitely does kind of like.
It was a fun. I liked it because it just kind of felt story driven.
Right. Yeah, I was talking to Lucas a little bit before the podcast, but I'm a little mixed on the sequence, just because on a gameplay standpoint, it felt very bare bones and kind of basic. Like maybe I'm just reading too deep into the context of it and the fact that this wasn't ready for launch, so it was added later, and so it was very likely rushed. And so, compared to other sequences where there's been a lot of like cinematic gameplay sequences or very, the gameplay is very, I guess, incorporated into the story. The story here was very strong and I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of the more well written sequences of the entire game, but the gameplay kind of fell flat for me. It wasn't necessarily inherently bad, but it didn't introduce anything new, and it was just kind of like, go here, kill this person, escort this person, protect this person, kill this person, do this, do that. And it's like, I wasn't having too much fun playing it so much as I was experiencing it. If that
Yeah,
makes
I also
sense.
feel like the enemies were really weak.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I could kind of just slice through most of them. Like I had like even the art like people with that big axe and all the armor. Like I didn't even really struggle with those guys. I could whack them in like 3 or 4 hits. It felt like.
Right. And I do think it does kind of mess a little bit with the pacing. It almost feels like, rather than add these, I feel like they could like I like the story, but I feel like it helps the overall pacing if these two DLC which I mean we haven't gotten to 13 yet, but like if it would have went straight from sequence 11 to sequence 14, because you're constantly gaining new equipment and upgrades throughout the game up until the end. But here it's like these two sequences, it's like we're not gaining anything, we're just doing more stuff. So
Yeah.
like again, story very well written. I actually really I think it's a high point for the game, but the actual gameplay is just kind of, it feels a little padded.
Yeah, it's just the same shit we've been doing, but almost easier.
Right, because then you're already maxed out. There's, they can't have too much challenge because they've still got the final boss and whatever. And so without, again, adding more mechanics that they seemingly just didn't have time for or resources or whatever. And so like, yeah, it's just kind of there. But I still, like I said, like I did enjoy the sequence in terms of its narrative elements and everything, the different twists and turns that it takes. Um, being able to see Katarina again, and
Yeah.
her and Ezio's little back and forth thing that they do, and her flashing her vagina to the Orly brother or Orsi brothers.
Yeah.
but let's get into it proper. So a fair bit of this actually happened last.
Hold on.
What's up?
Tribute?
Trivia. There's also the trivia for last week, which I guess I should do real quick. But the trivia question for last week was, what is the significance of Ezio's lament at the beginning of sequence 11, where Rosa gives him the shipping manifest and says, "Oh, I'm doing this for your birthday." It was Ezio's birthday. And so, yeah, 10 years of hunting Templars and now 27 years of age. So,
Older than me.
yeah, older than the both of us. But crazy stuff. Appreciate anyone who got it right. Better luck next time for those who didn't. And we'll get to this week's trivia question here in a little while.
One relevant.
But yeah, but a lot of this stuff, a lot of the beginning of sequence 12 was probably in the session from a few weeks ago for those that played, because it kind of immediately hops into the next sequence.
Yeah.
And so we'll go over that. It might be a bit of a recap for those that did play a few weeks ago. But essentially, the Animus stops, and Desmond's taken out of the Animus, but he immediately wants to get back in. He's like, no, 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 we got to finish this. We're almost done. Let's go, 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 go. Bro's getting antsy. And so while it's loading, Sean realizes that Rodrigo Borgia becomes Pope in 1492, making him the most powerful man in Italy.
Wow.
And so we're just 4 years away from that, him about to become the Pope. And so kind of realizing like, okay, what's going on here? Like, where are we at? Like, is he getting that? Like, what's going, like a little bit of, confusion, concern going on. But yeah, so as they're loading back in, and so Ezio meets with Leonardo, Mario, and Machiavelli to examine the Apple of Eden, and they're like, "Oh shit!" Like even Leonardo's like,
"This is holy shit."
Yeah, I have no idea what this is.
It's like, I'm smart. I'm not that smart.
Yep. And so Mario recommends that Ezio hides it in Forlì under Katarina's protection.
Because the cannons, baby.
Yeah.
Pow, pow.
Pow, pow. So we go back to Romagna. 1488. So like I said, this immediately follows the last sequence. Um, and again, was originally not in the game. It was patched in later. And so then it was kind of like they frame it a little bit in the animus as like a glitched memory. And so you'll get little things of like, oh, this memory's been repaired. You can access it now. And so, but yeah, so for those that might have been confused again, like since it wasn't originally in there, they kind of like act like they do a little skip forward. Now it's repaired and whatnot, and so you can access it.
Because of enthusiasts, you can make a full game.
Yeah, you can.
It's a good game.
It's a very good game. It's the best in the franchise. It's just some of the best stuff that Ubisoft's ever put out. But for those that are also confused, there's a little extra special mission that you can do.
Oh yeah.
By climbing to the top of one of the lighthouses, which will let you use Leonardo's hang glider again.
There's no objective. You just fly around.
Just fly around.
Just fly.
And I mean, my best guess is I think technically two reasons. One, I think, like flying around like that in games was a fairly novel concept in 2009. Like you've got like airplanes and stuff like that you can fly in some like FPS games, but even then, pretty rare.
Yeah,
like, they were still working on that tech. So like, I think part of it was like oh, here you go. You guys can like have another shot at like flying around where you don't have to worry about stuff. But I also think it was in response to some people grumbling about that one quest where, or the one achievement where you have to get you have to kick somebody in the head. I made that a trivia question. The fly swatter achievement. I imagine because, if you miss it, you have to replay the first, I think 7 sequences of the game, 7, 8 sequences to get back to it. So I think this was kind of a way of like, for, trophy hunters to be like, all right, here you go. You guys can have this now. Gives you another shot. Because, yeah, it is the only other chance in the game you have to get the fly swatter achievement. So I feel like it was kind of that, but also it's a way of like, oh, you can fly around if you want, do whatever endlessly, however much you want to do. But, yeah. So, it was at this point I started doing a bunch of side stuff. Did you do any side stuff this week? Or are you just chilling with the story?
I was just chilling with the story. I was kind of just like, because it was just kind of like going. I was kind of like going with it. It was just.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But essentially,
I didn't even stop at the villa to grab my money. I think I was full. God damn.
I wasn't full yet, so I figured I'd let it build a little bit.
You got tiny money.
I'm up to like a 36K total.
I think I can hold like 1558 or something like that.
Gotcha. So I'm not too far. I think I looked at my Xbox dashboard and it said I was at like 66% Montrejoni completion right now. There's an achievement for getting 80%, which I thought was weird that it's not 100.
Yeah.
I guess they're like, most people aren't going to do all this because it does really record like every little thing you do in the game.
I'm at like 90-some%, I think.
Damn. But yeah, so we're getting there. But at the start of the sequence, officially, Ezio accompanies Caterina and Machiavelli to Forlì, where they explained that she had her husband killed after discovering he was working with the Templars, and so hired some brothers to, assassinate him, essentially. And they were pretty brutal with it. Like, they literally, killed him, stripped him naked, and threw his naked dead body in the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, bro was apparently a piece of shit and bad in bed. So, I guess he deserved it. But, yeah, so she's kind of taken over, which officially it's technically his son that is the Duke, but she's just regent since he's a minor. And so, but she basically has control of Forlì.
Yeah.
And so,
girl boss.
Yeah, girl boss. Slay. Which, if people don't remember, Caterina is the lady that Ezio saved that was just chilling on a rock.
Chilling on a rock for no reason.
Yeah, a while back, and then started
I still don't know why she was on the rock. How did she get on the rock? Why is she dry?
Especially, a member of, nobility, pretty, second most important person in Forlì, just chilling on a rock.
You telling me there's no bodyguards anywhere for her? Come on, guys.
Guess that was a thing. But, turns out, as you guys are walking to Forlì, there's a bunch of people running away Well, it turns out the town is under siege from the very same men that Katerina hired to kill her husband. Well, they're mercenaries, so their next job was that the Templars just hired them right back
Yeah.
and were like, give us the shit. Because it turns out that her husband actually had a map to all of the codex pages. Jesus.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So he has a map for all the pages. They're after that. Because at first, Ezio's confused. He's like, how do they even know the apple's here? And it's like, well, they're not actually after the apple yet. It's not long before they figure out that the apple's also there, but they're more so after the codex pages because, again, Templars are after this like suspected vault that the codex pages lead to, and so trying to figure out what's going on there. But yeah, they're laying siege to Forlì, and so you start rushing through the streets, having to defend Katerina and
Fighting.
Machiavelli. You have to sneak into the city to open the gates for them so that they can start rushing back to the citadel where Katerina has all of her family, trying to make sure they're okay, yada, yada, yada. And so, yeah, start doing that sort of stuff, which, again, I think you said, like enemies were a little simple and everything like that.
Yeah, I could chop through them pretty easy.
Yeah. Which, like, at the start, I was pretty chill. But then I told Lucas, the actual, like, second mission of the game, where you're, like, once you get inside the city and are making your way to the Citadel, it took me, like, 4 tries. Because it kept, like, so they would engage with them, but then, they wouldn't engage with me, so I wasn't, like, I hadn't aggroed anybody, which maybe it was because I was wearing the Venetian cape. So it was like some sort of glitch with like that it was incognito. Like I was supposed to like not get any notoriety. So they had no reason to be aggroed at me. I don't know. But it just refused to cooperate with me. And so they go after them a lot. And so I would be trying to defend them, but they were just like hamming on them. And I kept having allies die. And it was really pissing me off. And so it took me a while.
I didn't have that issue. I approached it like Batman. And I just whacked everybody, and they tried to whack me back, and I aggroed them, and then honestly, the other guys would just kind of take them out while their backs were turned. It was kind of nice.
See, it was like the opposite for me. I would take them out while their backs were turned because they were beating up on everybody else. So I guess that was my problem. But yeah, it really frustrated me. But because sometimes too, it wouldn't even like it was hard for me to tell who was even a bad guy. Because it didn't have the stuff over their heads.
Well, you have to look at their like colors on their
outfits. Yeah, you look at the red versus the green.
And I'm colorblind as shit, so I cannot tell.
Right?
I was just stabbing people. There was one time I was whacking a guy, and I was like, I started realizing halfway through it was green. I was like, oh, sorry, dude.
It's like, man, fuck you. Oh shit, Carl.
Yeah, I'm colorblind. God damn it.
Yeah, so a little annoying there. But you make your way over to the Citadel, where one of the maids brings out one of Katerina's children, but it turns out the other 2 had been playing outside and got lost in the kerfluffle.
Wonder what happened to them.
Yeah, I wonder. And so 2 of the children are missing, but as soon as you get to the Citadel, the action does not stop because they're attacking the Citadel. So all of a sudden you have to defend the Citadel, which, again, I feel like if this hadn't been rushed, that would have been a like way bigger mission.
Yeah.
Like I was wondering too. I'm like, are we getting like tower defense? Like what's going on here?
I was like ballista. Like what's going on?
Yeah. Like I feel like there would be a much more cinematic thing.
Do I get to shoot a cannon?
It's just like people come and climb the walls, and you just have to kill a bunch of them for a while, and that's the whole mission.
I was really annoyed because I kept having to like go up and down.
Yeah.
It was like.
So yeah, it was kind of basic, but again, like the story itself is intriguing and all that, but the actual gameplay you have to do is just go here, kill these people, go here, kill these people, protect these people while killing these people, and it's just
stabby,
whatever. And so Ezio has to defend against the assault, but then the Orsi brothers themselves come to the gates and say that they have Katerina's children and try to ransom. And say, for they see Ezio. Yeah, exactly. They're like, all right, we want the map now, and we also want the Apple of Eden.
Because Ezio is here.
Exactly. But Katerina's like, no, fuck you guys. I can make more babies. Tells them to fuck off. And so they're like, they say to, they have an hour to change their minds and go meet them outside the village. And, Katerina basically pulls Ezio aside and she's like, yeah, no, I'm bluffing. Get my children back.
Yeah, go save them.
Yeah.
No.
So Ezio goes off to save the kids, which is another. Just go here, kill these people, save this child.
Yeah, and I felt like it was pretty lazy where they were. Like, I felt like there should have been a little more fortification to, like, break through. Like, I don't know about you, but I just went up there and I found them. And I stabbed, like, 2 guys, and it was like, that was it. There's, like, 2 or 3 guys there. I was like, okay.
Yep. They're just big chilling.
Yeah.
Save the one kid, like save the daughter, go over to the lighthouse, climb up it, just kill him real quick. He does basically call Ezio an idiot. He's like, you fell into our trap, ha.
Yeah.
Which,
But,
yeah.
he's dead.
And so, but one of the Orsi brothers is gotten rid of. But it turns out that, yes, this was their plan, as Ezio left the Citadel defenseless, and Chaco attacks and stole the apple, leading Ezio to chase after him.
I was a little annoyed that they let that happen. This was supposed to be, like, a really safe place, and, like, we immediately get the apple stolen.
Actually, yeah, I didn't think about that. The whole point of hiding the apple in Forlì is because it's this impenetrable fortress,
Yeah.
and then they take it. They don't even get it into the fucking city,
Yeah.
and it's being sieged. Like, apparently not.
Apparently it's not that safe. Up to, like, 2 mercenaries went and took the city.
Yeah.
Where's your cannons? I thought you had cannons.
Yeah, like, what the fuck? Where are all these defenses that you supposedly have? Apparently not. And so, he has the apple for all of, like, a day, and then it gets fucking stolen. So, Ezio chases after him, which, again, just super weird.
Go kill him.
Bro's just walking outside. Like, I don't know how it was for you, but it was one of the easiest fucking assassinations. I just ran past everybody and just boom.
I ran up the roof, I just jumped and stabbed him. That was it.
See, I just started running and, like, I accidentally aggroed some guards, like, right before getting out of town. So I just kept running and I saw where he was. I just kept running. He started running away and I just ignored everybody else and just ran up and smacked him.
He was just walking outside around
Yeah.
you? Oh, like, for me, he was, like, by there was, like, a bunch of guards by a building. And they were all just, like, standing there, like, in a circle.
So I think he was like that. But then the second I got anywhere near, because I had already aggroed people, he started, like, breaking and, like, running for it.
Okay.
So he might have been like that. But
I was sneaky about it. I just, like, I didn't get caught, and then I ran up the roof, and I was, like, double assassination, because I killed 2 people. Because I killed him and the other guy.
Yeah, I wanted my apple back, so I was just charging at him. I was just
like, my apple!
It's just I need to keep the doctor away. But, so yeah, you kill Chaco pretty fucking easily.
He's a bitch.
But, you take back the apple, but he's basically like, you have a really powerful piece of equipment there. You're not going to have it for very long. And, you're not paying attention to the fact that bro literally has a dagger and just shanks you.
Yeah.
Like, so Ezio gets, like, pretty badly wounded because he's just over here, like, not paying attention to, his
Just
own
saying
fucking
his
target.
prayers, not paying attention.
Yep. Saying requiescatum pace, and about getting requiescatum pace himself.
I know. Like, goddamn.
And so, of course, bro drops the apple, and a mysterious black-robed figure missing a finger takes the apple.
I wonder what significance that has.
Crazy stuff. And so Ezio blacks out and is fortunate enough to have one of Caterina's men find him and bring him back. And he's out for a while, grows a full fucking beard in his sleep.
Yeah.
And then finally wakes up and Caterina's over him talking about, like, oh, what happened, like, what's going on. And so he fills her in and she's like, well, shit. But gives him the map that her husband was holding. So now we have access to all of the codex's locations or any pages we may not have. And so, we get access to that. But then also, she's like, I've heard of some black hooded monks in the abbey outside of town. You should go check that out. Because we're still not done with the sequence. It just keeps on going.
Yeah, I thought it was done after that. I had to go and, like, the DNA and, like, check
Yeah, I kind of did that too because I was like, well, because it keeps going, and I was like, I didn't accidentally do this. Like, keep going, did
Yeah.
I? Like, that's
So we killed 2 people. I felt like that was kind of the conclusion of
right.
like the. I was like, oh, those
Usually,
were
yeah,
two assassinations.
yeah. Usually, it ends when you finish the assassinations, but no, it just gives you a whole nother mission. And so you go to the abbey to try to figure things out, which I just assumed the guy would be there. No, it's a guy getting harassed. You save this monk, and then he's like, it's just this super Irish monk in Italy for some reason. Just like, which they give him an Irish name, which I'm like, okay, at least there's that. But I'm like, you 100% just grabbed a random dude in the office. There's no way. There's no way this isn't one of the devs doing this right now. That it's just like, oh yeah, I got it over here. Like I saw a guy like that over there. Like what? But so he mentions that well, first he talks about, well, what about 9 toes? What about nine? Like, what about this or that? And just wants to beat around the bush. And then all of a sudden is like, yeah, okay, I think I saw a guy at a festival in town at the downtown abbey. So you got to go to another
abbey, which I don't know why you just start in the downtown abbey.
Well, it's like, are they black robed there? I feel like they wore brown robes.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know. But so you get sent to the downtown abbey to try to see if there's anything. But all the monks there are terrified of you because they remember Ezio from a previous assassination for killing a monk and are like, oh shit, this guy killed Brother Stefano. We gotta dip, thinking he's just gonna massacre them. And so, was this like the other missions where he just immediately tackled him?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did. Like,
so
bro, didn't even go anywhere.
Like, all right,
just like, bloop. Just lasted all of like half a second.
Yeah.
But, you gotta chase after the monk and basically be like, bro, I just want information. I'm not here to kill you.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, shit. Okay, cool. But he's heard of this monk. This little, Savonarola character, and says basically like, yeah, he was getting kind of weird, so we kind of suggested that he should retire.
Yeah,
and
permit.
Now he's back in Florence, and so it's like, well, shit,
he might be back in Florence, but yeah,
might be back in Florence, and that's where he should start looking. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's where the sequence ends. Ezio has to
find that guy.
Find that guy, which apparently takes him 9 years, which we'll get into more about next week. But yeah, sequence 13 apparently picks up in 1497. So Ezio spends 9 years looking for this guy, I guess. Which, again, like last sequence, Ezio was set like, it was 10 years since the start of the game. So they almost doubled the length of the game just in this one sequence, which is weird as shit.
Yeah.
But is a thing, weird. I guess. But yeah. So, but that's how the sequence ends with, being sent on a little goose chase to try to figure out this man, this mysterious person who's stolen the apple. But with that being said and done, we can get into this week's trivia question, which is that there are 2 characters in this sequence, which I'll even give the hint that only one of them is actually like shown in the sequence, and it's very brief. But there are 2 characters in this sequence that have the exact same name, first name, different last name, but the exact same name, which I thought was interesting. Another thing where I'm like, maybe I'm just being nitpicky, but I'm like, you had 2 like fairly important characters and you gave them the exact same name. Like, this really was rushed, like, out the gate. But yeah, there are 2 characters in this one with the same name, and no, it's not the Orsi brothers. Like,
yeah,
it's not
does not count.
But 2 characters with the same first name. Which one is it? Bonus points if you can give both of the full names. But I'm really looking for that first name. Who are the 2 characters? Let me know down in the comments below. That's the trivia question this week. So, and if you're listening over on Spotify or Apple, you can go over to our Patreon and respond that way, or over on YouTube, whichever you prefer. So make sure you're followed on all the appropriate platforms. Gives any news, got some cool goodies in store too, all kinds of sweet stuff. But yeah, we're almost done. We've got 2 sequences left.
Wow.
Almost done.
Big
Absolutely
sad,
crazy. But yeah, I feel like that's about it. Like I got a fair. I mean, in terms of length, this was the longest I've played in quite a few sequences. But again, it is very like fast paced. There's not a whole lot of like new gameplay. We are
Yeah.
at the point where it is kind of like
Like I kind of got lost in the sauce with the story. I was just going.
right. So there isn't really too much to speak on at this point outside of the fact that this wasn't originally added. This had to get included into the game after launch. But again, some interesting stuff there, a couple new things, and again, I did really like the story
Yeah.
component of it. I
No,
thought it was
I thought because
well
there was
written,
I feel like a little more like not I don't know. Con- I don't know.
condensed.
Yeah, it was like a short little mini episode.
Yeah, yeah,
Like a little side story where you got to like be taken for a second. Like
right. Where it's like it might not necessarily be advancing like the main narrative too much, but it also didn't feel like shoehorned in there.
yeah.
Like it did feel like it had a place. Again, like mechanically speaking, it was kind of whatever. But in terms of the narrative, like I did really enjoy the writing in this, and I do think it like I'm not gonna necessarily claim it's like the story's peak, but it is a highlight I
Oh
think of
yeah.
the entire game.
For sure.
I really like how the story does do those little twists and turns. A lot of it's pretty predictable, because like I think they go a little too heavy on the foreshadowing with it, with like, oh, children are missing. Oh, you've made a mistake by doing this. Like like they could have dialed that back in a little bit. But again, for 2009, like I do like the little narrative stuff
Yeah.
they've got going on. I think it's pretty good. But I also did a little check in because next week is going to be a busy week for me because with it being, the penultimate sequence, I'm going to be trying to wrap up as many trophies as I can get through at this point in the game because, there's obviously like trophies for finishing the game and whatnot. But, I'm going to try to collect all the feathers, which is going to be the most arduous task of the entire thing. But for the most part, I've been doing a pretty good job. Like I said, I've done all the assassination missions. They're all done. I only have one beat 'em up, one race, one courier left. I'm at 57 out of 73 viewpoints. Lucas actually has me beat on that one.
Yeah. I did something.
But so I'm gonna do a bunch of cleanup here in this next sequence. But I've accessed all the secret locations, and I have 276 out of 330 treasures. So
Wow.
that's like what,
A
like
lot of
54 treasures left. So doing pretty good on that front. And so while you don't necessarily need all of these to platinum the game, at this point it's like I did everything in the first Assassin's Creed, so I might as well just, say I did everything in this one too. Especially since I've done almost everything anyway. The only one that's really that behind is the feathers, which of course is going to be the most annoying one. Hopefully it doesn't
Yeah.
take me too long, but
They're tiny.
it definitely won't take me as long as the flags because at least there aren't 420 feathers. So, but yeah, I was actually pretty happy with how little I actually really needed to do. It's honestly just the viewpoints and the feathers, and then we'll see how I feel about the treasures. I don't know. I do think which I don't know if they count the secret locations because there are treasures in those secret locations.
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, then I'm fucked. Like because I've already missed them, and I don't think you can replay those. And so we'll see. Like I said, I'm gonna do what I can, but I'm not gonna necessarily make my life hell just to say I did this thing that doesn't even give me anything for it besides money, I guess. But yeah, but, got any final comments, concerns, what have yous about where we're at?
Um, it's definitely starting to feel like the end.
Right.
Like, which I've said a bunch, but I'm sad. It's
Yeah.
about to be over.
But hey, at least we get to go into
Yeah.
some more peak next.
Brotherhood, which is a close second game. So, hell yeah.
It's a close third for me, but still very good. Still very good. Well, no, yeah, I probably would put it at second. But that also does remind me real quick before we go. The IGN did a couple more face-offs, which again is their sort of thing about like ranking like a ranking system where it's a dual system, and so people have to choose this or that, and they do it a bunch of times to determine a ranked system for like what people's favorite games, movies, TV shows are and whatnot. And so they added Assassin's Creed Shadows to the Assassin's Creed Face Off, and interestingly enough, it came in fourth out of the 14 games that have come out. So pretty high regard, at least from the IGN base.
That's not terrible.
Then they added it to the face off of, the best game of 2025 so far, and it for a while was holding the first place spot. Eventually it fell beneath Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which it absolutely should.
Yeah.
But it also is above Split Fiction. It's above Monster Hunter Wilds. It's above Blue Fiction, or no, Blueprints. There we go. That's what I'm thinking of. Like, it's the number 2 best game of the year according to IGN users, which is kind of baffling me because again, I've been seeing a lot of praise for the game, but I wasn't sure if it was like just my algorithm. It's really hard to tell a majority narrative on social media nowadays because of how much things are tailored to the specific person. And so I was curious about what the general public really thought of the game. But, something like IGN's, face-offs don't have metrics like that kind of like separate out stuff. So that is like, for better or worse, one of the best ways to kind of look at like overall opinions right now. And apparently a lot of people really like it. I had one person tell me, "Oh no, you're wrong. Like everybody I've seen is like shitting on Shadows." Well, apparently, that's the minority opinion.
Yeah, your algorithm is just where you're at.
Yeah. So it's like, apparently the vast majority of people really, really love Shadows. And again, I do think the more modern gamers landscape, I think teenagers, I think people that are, getting into games now are really gonna love Shadows. The old heads like us, the OG goats.
Yeah.
I think that's where people, that's the disgruntled people. And again, I don't think it's a bad game. I think it's a good game. I have my issues with it. That really kind of, I do think the general opinion is a little too high though. Like, as much as I want this game to succeed, because I want, I want to see Assassin's Creed continue to thrive. I am a little worried because of how well it's doing. I'm hoping Ubisoft will still listen to criticism instead of being like, "Oh,
Look,
this works. We're gonna double down."
Yeah, no more double downing.
Yeah, I don't want Ubisoft to double down on this. I want them to continue to, refine it a little more. We'll see. We'll see what happens because, yeah, the vast majority of opinion seems to be that this is a great game. I don't necessarily agree, but I also don't think it's a bad game either. I just hope that they tweak some things for the next installment. We'll see. But I'll get out of here. We'll see you guys next week. Remember, we've got Bonus Plus talking all about Assassin's Creed Shadows next week. We'll have a whole episode diving into the specifics, the combat, the gameplay, the story, all that fun jazz. And then, we've also got Sequence 13. We're almost done. We're almost getting into Season 3. The Season 2 finale approaches.
Wow.
And so we shall see you guys next time. Appreciate all of you guys for watching, listening, however you consume our content. The Patreon subscribers, big shout outs to you. Even if you're just a free member, appreciate you.
Yes.
Checking in on us and making sure you get all the latest scoops and whatnot. But we'll see you guys next time. Remember, everything is true.
Whoa.
Nothing is true.
Everything is permitted.
Arrivederci.